Carter had always been a seeker of knowledge, the kind of restless young woman who could not be satisfied with textbooks and lectures alone, but instead needed to push boundaries, to challenge the very limits of human experience, even if it meant stepping into places where no rational mind should wander. At 23, she was a graduate student of psychology, brilliant, ambitious, and quietly haunted by questions no professor could answer. Where did consciousness end and something other begin? Was the idea of possession nothing more than a mental illness interpreted through religion, or was there truly something lurking in the shadows of human perception, waiting for an invitation? It was in the library's restricted archives that Emily first stumbled upon a worn leather-bound journal belonging to Professor Adrian Keller, a researcher who had vanished mysteriously decades earlier. His final entries spoke of a ritual experiment, one he called the possession experiment, in which a human subject would willingly invite an entity into their body under controlled circumstances to study the results. His notes grew increasingly erratic until the final line, written in jagged scrawl, "The subject has not returned. The experiment continues without me." Instead of recoiling in horror, Emily felt her curiosity ignite. For weeks she immersed herself in the journal, cross-referencing symbols and chants with occult texts and psychological theories. She convinced herself this was not religion or mysticism, but science, an experiment in consciousness, a way to peel back the layers of the human mind and document what lay beyond. Emily shared her discovery with a small group of friends: Jake, her supportive but skeptical boyfriend; Monica, her roommate obsessed with witchcraft and ritual magic; Ryan, a documentary film student always hunting for shocking content; and Lily, a quiet literature major whose fascination with dark poetry betrayed an almost morbid curiosity about death. They laughed at first, thinking Emily was dramatizing, but when she showed them the professor's journal, the pages filled with strange symbols, anatomical sketches, and warnings written in red ink, even the most doubtful among them felt the pull of the unknown. Slowly, she persuaded them all to join her in recreating the experiment, promising it would be the greatest adventure of their lives, proof that science and the supernatural were not as separate as people believed. The chosen location was an abandoned house on the edge of town, rotting two-story relics surrounded by overgrown weeds and broken fencing. Rumors clung to it like cobwebs, tales of strange lights, screams at night, and vagrants who entered but never came back out. For Emily, it was perfect. On the night of the ritual, storm clouds smothered the moon, leaving the house a dark silhouette against the restless sky. Inside, the air reeked of mildew and decay, the wallpaper peeling like old skin, floorboards groaning with each tentative step. Ryan unpacked his camera equipment, determined to film everything, while Monica drew a circle of salt and chalk on the warped wooden floor, copying the designs from Keller's journal. Candles were placed at precise intervals, mirrors leaned against the walls at odd angles, and a recorder was set to capture audio of the incantations. Emily, wearing a plain white dress as instructed, took her place in the center of the circle. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the journal, but her eyes burned with determination. Midnight approached, and with it, the beginning of what she insisted would be history. The ritual began with chanting. Emily's voice was steady at first, repeating the incantations, syllables harsh and foreign, echoing strangely in the hollow house. At first, nothing happened, and the group exchanged uneasy glances, stifling nervous laughter. Then the air grew colder, their breath fogging in the dim candlelight. The flames stretched upward as if pulled by unseen strings, bending in unnatural directions. The mirrors trembled against the walls, reflecting not the group as they were, but distorted, grotesque versions, faces twisted, eyes hollow, mouths stretched too wide. Ryan whispered, "Are you seeing this?" But Emily pressed on, her voice louder, firmer, as though something guided her. Suddenly her body convulsed, her back arching painfully, her head snapping backward until her throat strained. From her lips came a guttural growl, deep and ancient, layered like multiple voices speaking at once. The circle hissed with energy, the salt crackling as though burning. Jake lunged forward instinctively, but the instant he tried to cross the circle, his skin blistered as if scalded, forcing him back. Emily's eyes opened wide, the whites consumed by blackness. When she smiled, it was not her smile. "Who invited me?" the voice asked, thick and mocking, reverberating through the house. Monica clutched her necklace and whispered prayers, while Ryan, both horrified and enthralled, zoomed in with his camera. Emily's body jerked like a marionette, her fingers clawing at the floor until her nails split and bled. One by one, the entity addressed them by name, spilling their darkest secrets with cruel delight. Monica's childhood torment. Ryan's academic dishonesty. Jake's fear of never being good enough for Emily. And finally Lily, the quiet one, who turned pale as the voice purred. "You dream of death more than life, don't you? You wonder what it feels like to stop existing." The room filled with panic. Emily's voice returned briefly, screaming, "Help me. Don't let it," before being drowned out by a roar so loud the walls shook. Blood trickled from her ears, her eyes rolled back, and her limbs twisted unnaturally. Jake could no longer bear it. Breaking the circle, he rushed to hold her. The candles blew out instantly, plunging them into darkness. Ryan's night vision camera captured chaos, shadows crawling independently along the walls, mirrors shattering with faces still grinning inside them, objects levitating and hurling across the room. Emily's body rose into the air, limbs dangling, hair floating around her head like black flames. When she spoke again, her voice was calm, almost playful. "You wanted to understand possession? Now you will understand eternity." What followed was a blur of terror. Monica was dragged screaming into the darkness by unseen hands, her nails leaving bloody trails on the floorboards. Ryan, sobbing, begged the camera for forgiveness before the footage showed him vanish, yanked into the shadows. Jake clung to Emily, pleading for her to fight it, but the entity used her body to snap his bones one by one, the sound of cracking echoing like gunfire. Lily, transfixed, seemed to surrender, her face blank, her body stepping willingly toward Emily as if answering a call. The house itself groaned, plaster cracking, blood oozing from the walls. Whispers filled the air, thousands of voices speaking in unison, chanting in a language older than mankind. By dawn, silence returned. The police arrived weeks later after neighbors complained of foul odors. Inside, they found 3 mutilated corpses: Jake, Monica, and Ryan. Lily was never discovered. Emily sat alone in the center of the ruined ritual circle, her dress soaked in dried blood, her eyes vacant. She was alive but unresponsive, staring into nothing. Declared insane, she was institutionalized, doctors diagnosing her with acute catatonia. For months she did not speak, until one night a nurse heard her whispering in the dark, her lips curling into a smile eerily familiar from the footage. The words she spoke were recorded in the hospital logs. "The experiment is not over. It has only just begun." The leaked video footage, though grainy and chaotic, spread online like wildfire. Viewers swore they could hear whispers beyond the audible range, saw faces flickering in the corners of frames, and even caught moments where shadows moved long after Emily was still. Some dismissed it as an elaborate hoax. Others swore it was evidence of something far worse. Paranormal investigators attempted to cleanse the house, but all reported nightmares, violent hallucinations, and a suffocating presence that drove them away. Emily remained locked in her padded cell, eyes often fixed on the corner of the room, as though something invisible still stood there, watching. Some nights she screamed, other nights she laughed with voices not her own. The doctors grew afraid of her. The priests refused to enter. Years later, when the institution burned down under mysterious circumstances, Emily's body was never recovered. Survivors claimed they saw her walking calmly through the flames, untouched, her black eyes gleaming. Rumors persist that she still wanders, carrying the experiment forward, seeking new participants. And those who watch the footage of that night, if they watch too closely, sometimes report strange happenings in their own homes, whispers, flickering lights, reflections that smile when they don't. It is said the experiment does not need the circle anymore. It only needs a witness.